good evening. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast for the post-match post-mortem, because that is exactly what it is. It's not a post-match reaction. It feels like it's an absolute post-mortem. It's going to be picking over the bones of a pathetic carcass with very little meat on the bones, because once again, it was Dingorby. Wilfried Nancys now finds himself on the end of another dismal defeat, and there's no other way of putting it. That is exactly what it was. Once again, I am joined by my right-hand man, Paddy Boy, and down below is Stevie Woods, and we'll be sitting here picking over that, trying to make some sense of it. Spoiler alert, strap yourself in, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of positivity going around this one, and it feels as if the glass might just be half empty, if not right at the dregs, because yes, we've tried to be philosophical, we've tried to be objective, we've tried to sit here and look at why the performances are going such a way, and we had that discussion on the pre-match, but I think it's fairly safe to say that yes, there's a lot of blame to be levied at the players, but you are fully justified if you are going to be asking questions of the manager's suitability to get the job done. Now, I can see you're all starting to pile in. We're well over 100 right now. So give us your opinions straight up. We'll try and make this a conversation. Normally we talk about the action, but there wasn't too much action for Celtic. It was just chasing shadows and loads of calamities defending. Once again, get them up. We'll try and get you involved as much as we possibly can. Make sure you hit subscribe. As always, cost you nothing. Give it a big thumbs up, share it. You know all that by now. So let's get straight down to the nitty-gritty business. Stephen, I want to start with yourself, my man. Now, we sat here and we weren't too positive getting into this one, and we kind of laughed and we joked and we says, it's a sad indictment, isn't it, when you're sitting getting into a game against Motherwell and going, well, I wonder how that one's going to go. We thought that we would crawl through. Did you now, hindsight's easy, hindsight's brilliant, isn't it? Did you think it would have went out with a whimper like it did today?
See, to be honest, this evening I would have rather rinsed my eyeballs out with bleach.
Absolutely.
With all credit to Motherwell, we talked in the pre-match about how their manager has changed their style, but I need to just purely focus on the shambles that was our team tonight. I saw every single outfield player run about like a headless chicken. Plenty of running, but everybody just didn't know where to run. If you look at how Motherwell, it was very basic. They weren't Barcelona. It was get a hold of the ball, get into a space where you can receive a pass from a teammate, and move the ball to areas where Celtic are vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That is how simple that was tonight. And I'm sorry I'm not shouting here. The rest of the family have gone to bed in a big huff, and if I was really to be broadcasting at the volume that I normally did, my neighbours would be phoning the police on me. So, I have no other words. Yes, all credit to Motherwell. Absolutely, their manager has done what our manager consistently fails to do, is get the best from his own players. That's it.
Sorry, I muted myself. Paddy, you have been chomping at the bit. I can see you there. You have been unashamedly our resident from the off, cards out on the table. This man is not good enough. Get him in the bin, Margaret. All that kind of stuff. And do you know what? You're not going to sit here, I guess, and say, I told you so, but you can say it. You did tell us so, or at least. And here's the thing. For clarity, as we always do here, right? We're all emotional. We're all upset. It didn't go how we wanted to. We're angry, we're frustrated, we're all the emotions wrapped up into one, right? But I'll say you're fully justified in having the thoughts that you've got, Paddy, And for many reasons, the reservation you've got. Simply put, Paddy, is this just typified everything that you thought?
Yeah, pretty much, mate. As I said before, I came on after Hearts game. I was embarrassed. I thought that he got the tactics wrong. I thought that he showed arrogance. I thought that he showed just basically he didn't have a clue. It just reminds me of the old school PE teacher just throwing people into certain positions just because, right, you're a centre half because you're bigger, you're a striker because you're quick, and the guy just doesn't have the mental capacity for me to manage a club the size of Celtic. Now he's had 7 games in charge, Steve, and lost 5 of them. Right, yeah. The game every single game that we have played, other than the Aberdeen game, we have conceded 2 or more goals. Now that's why when we were on before and I sat here and I said we will concede 2 goals tonight.
You did.
I'm not happy, but I was right. Right. The only game we didn't concede 2 goals was the Aberdeen game, and that's because Aberdeen got a man sent off at the end of the first half. So 10 men that we managed to beat. Amazing. Well done. That was the only game that he's had in charge that we didn't concede 2 goals, mate. The man doesn't have a clue. He is not the man who should be taking Celtic forward. I don't trust him. I don't trust Tisdale. I don't trust any of these people to bring in players to fit this formation because, let's face it, it's not working. For me, mate, it's just pathetic. It's laughable. And, listen, going into the weekend against our rivals, the baddies, you call them what you want, mate, this is going to be a scudding.
Okay, so
detail, honestly.
Before we get through the sort of emotions, you know, it's good therapy. It brings us all together, and there's almost 200 of you now, such as the nature of these results. As we say, we will get, no doubt, some infiltrators in, but that's fine. You've got to take the rough with the smooth and all that, and we'll do our best to weed those out. But yeah, Paddy, let's look at it here. We speak about the manager. Now, we came on here earlier, and as I say a million times on this show, we're not here to say we're right and you're wrong. And equally, you're not there to tell us we're wrong and you're right. Opinions is what makes football fandom get around. I want to rewind to that preview show that we done. And with many people rightfully saying, unfair on the guy, give him a chance. It's knee-jerk. He needs to get his own players. He has to play his own system because if he doesn't do that, then how's he going to know what he's got? So on and so forth. Totally understand that. I appreciate that opinion and I get it. What I would say is, though, and this is the important thing, this is my takeaway, results are all that matters. Now, I will say on a human level, some people say, away you go, Stephen, I know you're one of them, Paddy. I actually feel sorry for Wilfried Nancys. Now, what do I mean by that? I know that you'd bite the hand off to be in his position. I'm sure Stevie would as well, right? I would, definitely. But what I mean by that is he's come in unprecedented times, right? It's just not what happens with Celtic. He's came in mid-season. I understand that he's inherited dross. I understand that he's come in at a time, but he can't really actually change anything. And he's been dealt a bad hand. And he's also come into negativity for the press, negativity for whether it's ourselves, fans and stuff, who were greatly underwhelmed. So it was always an uphill battle for the start. Cards on the table, that's unfortunate. As I said before, it would be nice to come in pre-season properly as it should be and get real time. However, with all that said, I cannot defend them. Now, I know the players should be equally, as it says they are embarrassed. They've got to shoulder so much of the blame. He doesn't make Bernardo absolutely horrendous. He doesn't make Kasper Schmeichel's embarrassing levels of distribution. He doesn't make Rio Hatate go completely anonymous. He doesn't make Daisen Maeda as useful as a chocolate fire guard. He controls none of those things. He doesn't make players touch his crap, pass his bad, and shooting woeful. Doesn't do any of that, right? I get it. But what he does do is set them up and at least should be able to assess what's going on and change it in play. As I've said a million times over, it was damage control. Now, I get the idea of play your system with the players and then you can assess. However, what he should have done is the exact same thing. I'm going to say it, that Danny Rowe done with Rangers. He came in and says, I've got a style of play, but I understand if I want to still be in a fucking job, a couple months down the line, and I want to claw ourselves back into a title race, take control, I just need to get results. Now, the squad, Ardros. But when Rodgers was there, even as bad as it was, he was still able to get results and no get beat and no get embarrassed. And as did Martin O'Neill. Still able to get results, no get beat, no get embarrassed. That's really all he had to do. That's all he had to do. But he's refused to do that. And here we find ourselves in a position where, as it says there, it looks absolutely clueless. Stevie, I know you had some deep thoughts on it. And one thing that you said, and folk hate it, the body language. I'm sorry, what's amiss here? There's something amiss here, because that, I wouldn't say they've down tools. I hate that phrase, but I certainly don't feel as if this team are invested in this man. This is a team that could have went joint top or top tonight, and that's what we get served up, mate.
Yeah. Okay, so look at it this way. In the last few weeks of Brendan being in the job, when you've obviously got a lot of pressure from the fans on the board and the manager and everything, and it looked as if players were out on the park, just really a lot of pressure at that point. As you say, they were still getting results. So Brendan goes, Martin comes in. Suddenly, you can see them playing with a smile on their face, if you like. Martin came in. Martin is a very, very good man manager. And he also knows, as you've quite rightly said, it's a results business. Let's get the players doing what they are comfortable in doing and playing in positions that they are comfortable in playing. Martin's record speaks for itself. May he be forever blessed. Wilfried comes in. And as you say, he comes in wanting to play his system, but the first list that he should be looking at is who's not available to me. Alistair Johnson, who he's worked with before. Cameron Carter-Vickers, who's a starter. Sriracha, who's not a starter, but he's had some good minutes up to the season at that point, and he's looked pretty effective. He's not got Jota, and he's not got Iheanacho. So you kind of scratch your head at that point and say, right, okay, this is who is left and available to me. I'm going to put Yang at right wing back. I think that's a good move. On some occasions, I'm going to play Luke McCowan at left wing back, because I think this is where he's now starting to get the ire of the fans. There's a famous quote that says, if you do the same thing time and time again, but expect different results, then you are the fool. And that's where the fans are saying, something has to change. You're not changing it the way it should be changed. Take the substitutions in the game. How many of the substitutions for the players that went off to the players that came on, how many would you say was actual a like for like swap?
Here's the thing, we had this chat before they came on, right? And I had a wee look at the substitutions. Now, I understand what he said, and you mentioned it when we spoke, and he says this idea where he likes players to be fluid, he likes them to be able to play multiple positions, right? But when we made the substitutions, and I get it, you could have taken off that entire team. You see, if you were allowed to change 11 players, you could have done it, right? Obviously, you don't have 11 on the bench, but you get where I'm going with, right? Yeah. Nobody was safe in that game. But we make the substitutions, right? And what you get served up is, as you say, it's not necessarily like for like, but you get Engels in place of Tierney, you get Yamada, and for Bernardo, who, by the way, we'll get on to, but we asked why he wasn't ever playing. I think we know why he's not been playing, because I said on the preview show that Ralston's game against Livy was one of the worst performances in a Celtic shirt. Well, from a midfield perspective, throw Bernardo on the barbecue there for that one and all. And you can also put a tie in there. Sorry, and we also get Maeda for McCown. Now, when these guys came on the pitch, and I was looking at them when they first ran out in the opening sort of couple of minutes, in the opening 5 minutes, they all changed positions twice. You had Nygren running the line at one point. You had Yamada on the right, and you had, what do you call him? McCown on the left. Then they switched. Then Yamada went through the middle. Then you had Nigrin and Yamada playing tight to each other and playing narrow. It literally just looked like a case of, I'm in the shit here. I'll throw Hornersy at the wall and hopefully it'll stick and we will come unstuck. But all it done was stick us more, mate. Really.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Listen, I totally agree with you, right? Watching that second half, we came out, the first kind of 5 minutes of it, we started to go forward a little bit. We looked as if we were showing a wee bit of intensity, but then nothing. And like I say, Steve, there's not one player in that fucking squad that knows exactly what they're doing. They're moving, they're getting into positions that they don't play normally. If you look at a Brendan Rodgers team or how Martin O'Neill had us playing, the players were sitting in formation. They knew where they had to be. They knew their job. In this formation, under this manager, they don't know. He has came in and he's overcomplicated it. He's came in and he's tried to, like you said before, change the wheel. He's came in and he's done so much, mate, and he's just overcomplicated the game.
Sorry to interject here, guys. I want to read this out to you, and I'll get instant reactions from you as the contributors tonight, and also you in the comments. So, Wilfried Nancys, this is what he's got to say. It was not a good performance. I'm fucking glad you noticed that. We had difficulties today while our opponents were connected. The way we conceded the first goal, we can do better with the throw-in. As we've said, every throw-in, corner, set piece is as good as a penalty. I feel at Celtic now. Sorry. Except for one offence transition, they didn't have chances. Really? They didn't have chances? But they had the ball. In the second half, we were a bit better, more aggressive, where we pushed and had more opportunities. Tactically, the way they run together was interesting. He loves this word, interesting. What does that mean? Interesting mean it's a fucking word. When to press, when to stay. In the second half, we were more front-footed. My players want to do well, but we struggled a bit defensively in the first half and the second half in every other game that we've played in. They were a team who want to unbalance their opponents. I'm pretty sure that's the basics of football, mate. We want to keep going, but this was a stop. The stop is going to allow us to be better collectively. What does that even mean? This stop is going to allow us to be better collectively. This is just Dugs and Caravan stuff. This is the stuff that we tore strips off of your man Russell Martin. The message is getting across, but we faced adversity today, and that is the reality. After that comes a bit of doubt. I believe I saw good stuff. Oh, fuck me. I don't know what he saw, by the way. To press in the good moment and defend the good moment. We were not as connected as we have been tonight. And on the confidence turning around, he says, yes, I need to see my players. I need to see them in these situations. I need to rest some players. Rest? Now it's time to get better and keep working because it is the only thing we can control. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to go out with my reaction. What a total lot of shite. He saw good things. He thought we were good, and he wants to see his players in this. What does that mean? You want to see us in defeat? Well, guess what, mate? You've seen us done it fucking 5 times by now. Right. So you've seen it enough times. So what's the answer?
Listen, mate, this guy's more interested in performance-wise than results. You can see that. He's one of these fucking coaches that just looks at a game for certain things that happen in it and whatever else. He's just, mate, honestly, I haven't got a clue what he is. He's not a manager. He's not a coach. He's just some dafty that's been given, in my opinion, one of the biggest jobs in Europe.
And listen,
and he's absolutely fucked it. He really has.
To interject here before I pass over to Stevie. Again, that's no his fault. Right? No. Him getting a job's no his fault. It's not his fault, right?
He was identified, right? If you go back to the Michael Nicholson statement before he was put in, they said, I think, what was the terminology? Due diligence, and they identified him as their preferred candidate based on what? The podcast before the game, Steve-O, you ran through the guy's stats in MLS, and I wouldn't have said that's the best guy that we could get for the job. So if the board have said, yeah, this is our preferred candidate, they gave him the job. Wilfried didn't come in and take the job himself. So yeah, I need to side with Paddy on this one. The board need to put their hands up now and said, we've tried this as a wee experiment. It's not worked, therefore.
So I want an opinion of you guys that are watching. 550 odd of you so far. Love it. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe. I hate saying that in these circumstances, but as I say, there's about 40 odd % of you that watch that unsubscribe. It costs you nothing to just do it. More that's coming, these conversations. I love to get you all involved as much as we can. But I want to know from you that are viewing, you guys out there that are watching, where are you at now with the balance? I've put out my thoughts where I says I feel sorry for him because he came in piss poor circumstances. However, and that is the big however, he talks about things that he can control. He always thought, I can only control this. One thing that he can control is results. And what I mean is there's no guarantee. You can't control results to the extent where you can guarantee you're always going to win, right? But you can adapt. It's the old saying, you either adapt or you perish, right? And he is, I really do hate comparing it, but I can't avoid it. Look at Danny Rowe. I'm not saying he's a good manager. I'm not saying I'd have him over Wilfried Nancys. In fact, probably would if I'm being honest with you, right? But my point I'm trying to make is he understood all the managers that went before him, that came in and tried their wee plan and tried to be set in their ways and fell flat in their face. And he understood, and he said in his own interviews that he's got a style and a way that he wants to play in an ideal plan. But he cannot do that right now. He has to just win games because he understands results are what's going to keep you in a job. Principles are nice and you can, hold them up, moral high ground and all that. But principles don't get you wins, and principles don't keep everybody like it's watching here or sitting on this show talking on side. Principles don't keep you in a job when you're at Celtic. And 7 games played, with 2 wins, and as I said again, going into a derby at the weekend, that if you lost, you could find yourself in 3rd against a team who a couple of months ago sacked a manager, sacked 2 board members who employed that manager and were sitting in 9th place, couldn't buy a win, couldn't score a bloody goal. If you are the one that's responsible for that turnaround and you fall behind them, that, I'm sorry, is a sackable offence.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at with it, lads. That's where I'm at.
Yep. One of my favourite television shows of all time is The X-Files. And one of the main characters in that, when he sits in his office, he's got a big poster up behind him with a UFO on it. And the text on that is, I want to believe. Now, I'm going to get one of them with Wilf's face on that. I want to believe, but he's not showing me anything at all that says he is capable of moving this team.
Sorry to jump in. I just want to bring this up. All opinions are welcome. Not singling you out there, Vito, on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We've got to get behind him. Tell me why, other than just because it's what we do. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand people say that's Rangers behaviour, that's this behaviour. We don't care if we win, lose or draw. I hate to say this because you'll call me entitled. You scold me for it. Let me in your secret here. I fucking care. And I'm pretty sure the nearly 600 people that are watching this, including you 2 guys sitting here with me, care if we win and lose. Yeah. But we also, if you lose or if you draw, there's a way of doing it. And Celtic can get out with a whimper.
I might sing that song, but see, at the end of the day, see when Wilfried Nancys came in and he stood there in front of the cameras and said, results don't matter. I judged him big time for that, mate. That was one of the things that caught me. That really kind of put me in a wee place where I was watching that and I went, mate, you haven't got a clue what this job is. You really do not understand how big this task is that you've took on. You can call Celtic fans entitled, you can call Rangers fans entitled if you want, but we do expect to win every single week, regardless of who we're playing. And this man doesn't have it. He really doesn't have a clue. He doesn't have the shoulders to take that. And you can see it, mate. You can see it now. It's starting to come. And like that's 5 games out of 7, mate. When was the last time Celtic lost 5 out of 7 games? How far back do you need to go for that?
Well, it's another record 4 games in the trot
Well
was
done.
4 games in the trot was going back to an old record. I know there was a point where a certain Mr. Steen lost 4 games, but he had a lot of credit in the bank. But you're winding the clock back a long time, and he, unfortunately, like Russell Martin did, is starting to set unwanted records, including Motherwell getting their first win against Celtic in 10 years, Stevie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, see if we were breaking down the game and say both teams were at their best tonight, but Motherwell being the home team played better than us, wanted the result more, and therefore, then absolutely. However, we're sitting here and we're describing how badly we played tonight. That is what is frustrating us even more. Yes, we've had a few comments up there saying some of the players are to blame.
Players, of course.
100%. But this appears to me to be an example now of the players have lost confidence in the message that Nancy is trying to put across. They're going through the motions. I talked about, body language is one of my favourites. As you say, we should have been right on the ball from the first minute, saying we've got a chance to close that 3 points on Hearts. We're going to make sure that we're going to give it at least 100% effort. I didn't see 100% effort, and that's just effort we're talking about.
Yeah,
players running about like headless chickens. I don't know where I should be at this point. We're in possession. I don't know where we are. Mm-hmm. When Motherwell were in possession, they're pressing us so much in our final third that we're the ones that are making mistakes, and they're capitalising on it. The goal, that going back to the manager's statement, we could have done a wee bit better from the throw-in. I'm sorry, that was a big lumped ball into our area, and the guy who's not as big as Trusty got in between 2 defenders, and a good header. He placed it well away from Casper, but that to me doesn't add up to what manager Wilfried is telling us. Oh, I saw some good things. What good things? It's not just his wee board that he moves about. I think he's watching some sort of Sabutio game while the actual game is going on out on the park.
Yeah.
And again, everybody that's coming in with the comments, you can see it time again. The manager, it's on him, not totally, but he is the one, as I say, he sets up the formation. He decides who he's going to put out on that park. And that's where it comes back to him. He didn't do anything to positively change during the second 45 minutes. He made 3 changes. None of the, as I say, none were kind of like for like swaps. I'm just going to throw on who I've got available.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's on the manager.
And the thing is, I'm reading through the comments here, and there is, generally speaking, it's universal. Of course, folk are all not happy, not having it, and I get, what the commenters here saying is, nobody wanted them playing 3 at the back, absolutely. And there's other comments that are saying, how can you blame a guy who has came in and he's not had a chance to influence anything? As I said earlier on, that's completely circumstantial.
And he has had a change. He can change the formation in the short term. If he's not got the players available to him because of injury, then he kind of gives it up for a couple of weeks and says, "No, I'm going to have to play a back 4 here for a couple of weeks."
I believe the saying is obviously short-term pain for long-term gain. Now, he unfortunately seems like the type of guy that will say this is the short-term pain for the long-term, which is my plan will come good. When I actually think that part of being a good manager is being able to adapt, to change the pieces about to suit the circumstances, and maybe a bit of self-sacrifice. He's the guy who, in this circumstances, after now, well, even before tonight, 6 games, now 7 games in charge, and seeing that by and large it doesn't work, where it should be personal short-term pain for him for long-term gain. The long-term gain, the short-term pain is okay. I don't get to play the preferred way I want to do, but you can still install those principles of 1 and 2 touch, quick movement, quick passing, getting in behind. You can still do that, by the way, with a back four. Now, that is like comparing apples and oranges, but Ange Postecoglou, still the back four, still play attacking football. So short-term pain for him, for the long-term gain, which is keeping your fucking job. Do you know what I'm saying here, Paddy?
Yeah. Listen, mate, I totally agree with you. It's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's exactly what it is. And he just keeps doing it. Coming in the Hearts game and changing.
Jeezy's away. Jeezy, I appreciate you saying that, mate. And he's away because he doesn't like the truth. And you'll always get the truth here. And I appreciate you coming on and giving your thing with. But we cannot. Here's the question. If you're still watching, Jeezy, I just want to ask you this question then. If you're unhappy with myself, Stevie, and Paddy, and many of the commenters pointing out that these results are unacceptable, and on his watch we have went from being in touching distance right back in a title race to shooting ourselves in the foot and potentially might not happen, probably will if we're being honest, at the weekend potentially falling into third place behind a team that were ninth and sacked a manager and were in worse shapes than us. If you're happy with that, how far do you let him go? I've asked this question, how far do you let it go? How
For
far?
me, it was after the Hearts game, Steve. It was when I came out after the Hearts game and said, get him to fuck out of my club. Everybody laughed at me. Everybody said, what are you talking about, mate? He's had one game in charge and he's just trying to do this, he's trying to do that. It'll come good. Give him a chance. Give him to January, blah, blah. A lot of the people are backing me now, going, aye, fair play to you, mate. You called him out. And I seen it coming, mate. This arrogance of playing this 3 at the back. Like you said, you come in, you try it doesn't work, go, right, wait a minute. Maybe for this next game, we'll try 4 at the back. We'll go 4-3-3. We'll do what Martin O'Neill was doing. We'll try what they had in place. We'll try the formation that they've been playing for years. See how it works, and then come pre-season or when I can get some of my players in who I think can play that positions, then we change it. But he's come in with this arrogant, shitey attitude and just tried to change everything. And listen, it's not working. He needs to change it, and he's not going to. Let's face it, we are going to line up against Rangers, who will start with a front two, Charmiti and another. And I tell you what, the big guy Charmiti that everybody's been calling shite, I bet he scores against us. And guarantee. Because again, we will concede at least 2 goals against them on Saturday. We will, and guarantee you that.
Yeah, and that's true. And again, for the balance, I can see people are saying, Jeezy's obviously got a bonnet in his hat, total revisionism. Martin O'Neill struggled. Listen, we said that. You obviously don't watch this podcast and you've jumped on tonight because you've seen the tagline, you know it's going to be a blockbuster, and you've got yourself involved in the chat, Jeezy. But if you watch this programme, and those who are, those who do watch it will know, we've commented that the performances under Martin O'Neill weren't great. We've spoken about this, Stevie. The performances started off good, they faded off, they tapered off, and at times they were a grind. However, the fundamental point is they were wins. And that's what this was about. That's what we keep saying. Damage control until January comes, until you can get the players in. Don't fall behind. Stay in the game and take it for there.
Yeah, we mentioned the pre-match podcast, points on the board. See, when we get to the end of the season and we are where we are, if we've won that league title, nobody will care how good or how bad were we during that season. All they'll look at is say, we went on a run, we got the points more than our opponents. That's all anybody will care about. Yes, if it's one of these seasons where we went undefeated, we scored 1,000 goals, we've now set a new league record for points accumulated. That they're brilliant, but at the end of the day, all anybody cares about is who wins that league, and that's it. So so we will give credit to Wilf where it's due, You know, we talked about a couple of the things that we could see were happening. We were creating lots of chances. We weren't taking them, or we were, you know, this, that, and the next thing. But we also need to look at the other side of the coin and say, why is it? And there, Carter has just made a really, really good point. You're now coming up, you know, we talked about, we're getting into this January window. Do the board now trust them, given the results over the last few weeks? How much are we going to invest in this guy or in this squad to let him continue with this experimental formation and philosophy? If that's his philosophy, yeah, we said it, we don't mind the guy sticking to his principles. If you've got a fully fit squad and you're getting your message across and you're still picking up points. If we'd got a draw tonight against Motherwell, you know, it would have been a different conversation that we're having now. But it was just that we were so poor in that game. And that's why most of the viewers and the commenters are so frustrated.
Of course, and again, I'll keep saying, for the purpose of balances, he doesn't want to leave. Jesus, stay with us longer, please. You know, playing pish and getting results will always fail. Nancys was brought in to change the club. Martinelli was employed to get results quickly at any cost. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was.
Is there anything wrong with that?
Because the remit is win. Again, I know you don't like it. Philip Clement was brought in to revolutionise Rangers, and he was shite, so he gets sacked. Russell Martin was brought in to change the culture at Rangers, but he was shite, so he gets sacked. Wilfried Nancys has been brought in to change the culture and the plan at Celtic, but it's not working, and it's, dare I say it, shite at this moment in time, and it's a results driven business. That is the be all and end all, and I don't like it. Listen, I know you might think I'm saying this for the sake of it. Believe me, I don't want to watch a la Gordon Strachan style football where every game is tedious and you grind out results. In fact, forget that. Even Brendan Rodgers-esque football for last season, where at times it was just passive garbage and you were grinding out results. Yes, I always want to see better. Of course I do. But if you offered me winning the games and staying afloat, because that is what it is, staying afloat in the league and giving yourself a fighting chance, or mixing it up and going crazy and making a tit off it, then I'll pick the former before the latter. Again, Tony Mowbray was brought in with this great attacking football in mind to revolutionise Celtic and be a mainstay that would take Celtic forward for many years.
Some of us here can remember the John Barnes experience as well.
Yeah, exactly. And guess what? It was shite. Mm-hmm. So I don't want us to be a Walter Smith's Rangers that just grind. Don't get me wrong, I don't. But at this moment in time, in the here and the now, this season, I keep saying it, it's my favourite phrase, damage control. Mm-hmm. That's what this season is for Celtic. Damage control. Do what you've got to do, mate. And
Steve, when you
slowly bed in your plans.
After the Hearts game and after the second defeat, obviously Roma and then St Mirren, after those defeats, you came on and we were sitting here and he says, once the transfer window comes, we get to the transfer window, damage control. That was the kind of words, wasn't it? We get to the transfer window, we get there and we hope that we haven't lost enough points to be within touching distance of the league. And for me, mate, you're looking at that, and even with this transfer window, what is he having to bring in, mate? 2 centre halves at least, a right wing back, a left wing back, probably 2 midfielders, a striker, another goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? You're needing the bones of a fucking full squad. Let's be honest. And he's not going to get that much money for this board, I don't think. You know the way we do our transfer window. We're not going to come the 1st of January be sitting there going, bang, there's a right back, bang, there's a centre half, bang, there's a keeper, bang, there's a striker. And we've been linked with Giakoumakis, we've been linked with Kyogo, we've been linked with pretty much anybody that's ever played with Celtic, anybody that's Irish, anybody that's played with the Columbus crew. Do you know what I mean? Anybody that basically is out of a contract, they're linked with Celtic at the minute. And to be honest, mate, I am not really looking forward to the transfer window either, because I just think it's going to be another one of the ones where we're disappointed. We're going to be sitting after it going, why did we not strengthen there? Why did we not strengthen here? We knew we had to strengthen there. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be sitting pulling players like Luke McCowan and saying, right, you are definitely going to be my wing back. That's your position. If you want to stay at Celtic, you'll stay there and play. And he'll stay there and play because he's a Celtic fan and all he wants to do is put on that jersey and play football.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And it's not right, mate.
And here's a question. I want to try and circle back because obviously it's very, very hard to focus on the game when realistically all the attention is rightly so on where do we go for here, and the questions around about the manager. And listen, I hear everybody that's in the comments. There's some great stuff that's coming in, and people are saying a million times over, transfer window's massive, need to sign new players. Would you trust them? Would you trust Tisdale? Would you trust this board? And that is the problem. This is a culmination of terrible decisions, right? The board, let's not forget it, let's not lose sight. As a sideshow, they are the fundamental reason as to why this squad's as poor as it is, right? As poor as it was for Brendan Rodgers, and subsequently as poor as it was for Martin O'Neill, and now Wilfried Nancys, right? We can't hide for that fact. We cannot hide for that fact. But, and it is a big but, this squad, Stevie, should always be good enough to beat the best of the rest, so we call it.
Domestically, yes.
Domestically, the rest of the league, of course, they should, right? Yeah. And again, we keep saying it's about the damage control. It's about securing the points on the board. And as I say, coming in and being objective about what you're wanting to do. That long term, you want to revolutionise Celtic. You want to change the way that we play. You want to integrate new ideas. I get it. But sometimes it's hit the ground running situation. You get a full summer at it. You get all the building blocks and you're able to put in place. If you come in at a position that he's in, you sometimes need to just sort of wean the team onto it. Yeah. You build it and you integrate it, you slowly integrate it, and you get by. You get by, and then you do it. And that's what I think is missing here. And I think that's what a good manager does. And again, I keep saying it, and you said it, you used the term fragile. Celtic are so fragile. They're fragile on the pitch, they're fragile off the pitch. And this whole season, after Brendan Rodgers went in the fashion that he went, this was a case of just get to the end of the season by any means necessary. Just crawl over on your belly over the line and reset in the summer. We've had to do it a wee bit early, but we're going about it the wrong way. Top to bottom, we're doing it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the previous podcasts a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the change, bringing Martin O'Neill in, who got points on the board. He had the squad. He couldn't do anything to bring new blood in, but he got the points. And I said at that time, the proof there is what Martin is doing. Okay, you're still out looking for a new manager, this, that, and the next thing. Mm-hmm. You leave the job with Martin O'Neill until Martin O'Neill turns around and says, I'm 73 years old, I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. You then get to a summer, and you mentioned it yourself, that gives a new manager coming in who wants to revolutionise. It gives him no games. He's got all that training time with his squad. He's got a window where he can bring players in, and that's when you start to drip feed and get all your ideas going. You don't do it when your first game within a couple of days of you arriving in the country is against the team that are top of the league, knowing then you've got, a quality European side, which, we'll give you that as a free hit. And then the week after that, we've got a cup final to play in. That to me shows, again, it wasn't Wilfried that put himself in that position. Somebody went out and made the decision, you are our man, and this is when we're going to bring you into the club. We all want to get behind him. We all want to believe, as I've said. However, you go on the facts that are in front of you. He's not done well. He sticks to this philosophy. The stuff that he's coming out with in his statements, people are saying that's not really inspiring me with any confidence. If he's seen something in that game, I didn't see it. I didn't see anything positive at all. He might see it because he's working with these guys on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, what I'm looking for is points on the board. As I say, I would have been very, very happy if we'd come back from Fir Park with a draw. As long as we're not any worse off from when we went there. But there was nothing in tonight's performance that gives me any kind of hope that this is turning around anytime soon, even with new players coming in, if we do get somebody in early in January. And you're muted again.
Trying to be polite. I'm trying to be polite. You know, here's the thing, right? As I say, believe me, we don't like having these sort of shows. This is the last thing we want. We don't have this. And you know, we put a few tweets and stuff during the game. And this here, nail on the head there for Greenfield goal. You know, that's worse than the McCarry braid. I fully agree. Yeah. And I actually says in one of our tweets, and I'll read it off, this is the most chaotic Celtic side I've ever seen. A shambles. Comfort yourself with the slight crumbs of short periods of nice-looking attacks, lots of missed chances for those what-if chats, and 2 victories if you wish. But fundamentally, this is a mess. I'm aware that we could go on and win. This was during the game. Maybe comfortably, but it will always be a state defensively. Mm-hmm. And I can honestly say, and that isn't me speaking hyperbole, this is no me trying to be dramatic for the sake of clicks and views and all that crap. It's not. It's me being totally honest with you. This is honestly, in my recollections, a 40-odd-year-old man, quite possibly the most pathetic and out of sorts looking Celtic team I've watched in a long, long time. Are they the worst Celtic team in terms of squad? No. Many folk would say yes, but no. I've seen worse. Of course I have. Yeah. But in terms of togetherness, looking like they know what they do, even going back to that McCarry and Brady era, there was games when Celtic would be playing where you might not get the results, but it just was because of lack of talent and lack of ability. It wasn't because we were all running about fucking clueless and, you know what I mean, chasing shadows against Motherwell.
Yeah.
The thing is, Steve, there's other managers got to tune out of this team. Do you know what I mean? Wilfried Nancys came in, and I've said it on here before, and I'll say it again. He's overcomplicated things. Yes. He's trying to overcoach the players. He's giving them too much to think about, too much to try and do. Every player out there is trying to play about 3 or 4 positions. They haven't got a clue where they're supposed to be. And you see it so many times. There was people on the TikTok here, they're telling us like at one point Hatati's sitting like looking as if he's playing left back, and you get Callum McGregor sitting as a centre half while Austin Trusty swans into the middle of the park, and you just get players all over the place, and it's not the way we play our football. It's not. There's no function to it. There's no formation to it. There's nothing, mate. And that's what he's done. Martin O'Neill came in, and Martin O'Neill simplified things. And he told the players to go out and enjoy what they were doing. He told the players to, you know your job. This is the formation we're playing. Go do your job. You're brilliant at your job. The players went out there standing 10 foot tall. We seen guys like Arnie Engels winning 50-50s, pinging the ball for 30 yards out into the 6-yard box, scoring goals that we wouldn't normally have scored. And now we're watching this guy, mate, and the team look as if they haven't got a clue what they're doing. So I totally agree with you. Other fans will say we're entitled, but you know what? We just want to win.
Can I ask you guys a question here, right? Because this that I brought up here for 9Mac that's on YouTube there says, come on, Carmack, let's hear your opinion. None of your usual shit. I've not heard if the captain spoke now. The reason I'm bringing this up is I want to put this to you guys and get your thoughts on it. Now, we don't want a mutiny as such. That's the last thing you want, right? But I had a conversation with one of my mates, Steve-O, at halftime. And his exact words were, this is where the senior players, maybe not in front of the dressing room and the manager and stuff, right? And, and undermine them. But we all remember that infamously, after I think it was the second game of the Wim Jansen period, that the senior players went to Wim Jansen and they went to Murdo McLeod and says, we don't know what you want us to do. You tell us, but we don't understand it. And it's, putting it lightly, shite. Like, we need to do something now. Funnily enough, they went to try something different. It didn't work. And the moral of the story is they found a middle ground, right? But surely a captain or senior players, your James Forrest, Casper Schmeichel, he's fucking at fault for the 2 goals. No, I get it, right? But my point is figureheads of the team should be at some point, should they not, maybe go to the manager and say, look, boss, this isn't working right now. We need to find a way. I understand, we appreciate you want to do this and we're behind you, but you need to help us help you, because we can see that this isn't working. And maybe just take a wee bit of leadership on the fucking pitch, where if it's not working with a system where Captain McGregor looks and goes, boys, jig it around a wee bit, and they do something a wee bit different. They maybe go a wee bit off-piste and see if it falls flat on its face. They take it as the senior men and they take the shot for the team and go, right, okay, sorry about that. They maybe get dropped. Who gives a fuck, right? But surely your captain and that, guys, should they not be maybe having a word or trying to have some sort of communication with the manager and saying, look, boss, this is not working? Because
when you look at it, Steve, the captain looks deflated. Luke McCowan after the game looked deflated as well. They just look like there's nothing left in the tank. I think these conversations have been taken. I really do. I really think that Callum's went in there and spoke to this guy and said, like, this isn't working going forward. I really do think that the players in that squad must have done that, Steve, because listen, 7 games, we've won 2 of them, lost 5.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times we need to put that across there. Statistically, for Celtic, that is unforgivable. This manager needs to go, mate. I don't care who he is. I don't care what he's done anywhere else. I don't know who I want in. I really don't. I don't know who's going to come in and revolutionise this for us and get us back to winning ways. But I just think that he's came in and he's basically, in my opinion, lost all the players, because none of them have a clue where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing, or even why they're there. Basically, you look at them, mate, they're just clueless. Honestly, it's clueless performances, and people are saying, the players are to blame and whatever else. Yes, you can blame the players, but they're being asked to do something that is uncomfortable for them. It's something that they're not used to doing. Do you know what I mean? It's like taking you out of your job and putting you into mine and saying, go and do that.
So where do we go for here, guys? Where do we go for here? That's the obvious question, right? We don't have much faith in the board to get things right. And what's funny is, let's look at it DEFCON, right? Which is, manager has to go, right? Now I'm not sitting here and saying that's what will happen. I'm just trying to talk it. Everybody's saying, my vast majority of folk are saying sack him now. I know you're in that camp, Paddy. I don't know if you're fully there, Stevie. I'm very much, I've tried to, as you all know, give him the benefit of the doubt. I feel sorry for him. I genuinely do, and I'd like the ideal situation. But I'm also not foolish to say that you cannot, regardless of the hand he's been dealt, it's up to you to get a good hand and either make the best of it by, bluffing, if that's what you need to do. For a wee bit of poker analogy, you bluff and you get the results one way or another, you get it done, or you fold. And I just think that, he's come into a shit situation, but he still actually can help himself, and he's choosing not to do it. Yep. And like I said with COVID, like I said with Brendan Rodgers before he walked, but I still think he got told he was going. I said, how long could you let the Brendan Rodgers thing go? How long could you let those results slip until you got to the point where you go, it's not what we want today, but we need to move on and we need to change it. And I get it. Where do we go for there if we get rid of him? Do you phone up Martin? He'll fucking probably turn his phone off, right? I don't know. But you can't just, like we did with COVID, we can't just persist and sail through and hope it's going to improve. Like we did with Brendan Rodgers, we can't just hope it's going to get better when there's a lot of tension in the air. And do you think this board, Stevie, for all that they are, have the guts to make a decision? Now, I'm talking, focusing tonight, I'm talking about Rangers, right? And I'll say it right now. I don't want to say it. I came on here earlier and I says it could be 3 each. It could be a hammer. We could beat them. If I'm being totally honest with you, I think Rangers will take about 3 goals off Celtic at the weekend, because this is a team, and I know that derby matches are fun goes out the window and it's all about raw emotion, but come on, listen.
Yeah, if
Yes.
I don't know how many, between the three of us, I don't know how many times we've said this in the pre-match and this cast. If we can see some positives, then we will say that was good, that was good, that was good. There was nothing good about tonight's performance, okay? And if we as fans can see that, the pundits, I'm quite sure, will see that. Why can't the board see what we're seeing? You know, they must look, as you say, and say, you know, here's us. Okay, at the end of the day, we are still only 3 points behind Hearts. It's not the end of the world. There's still a long way to go, but we're now starting to get into thinking about January.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a 1 or 2, you know, kind of, we'll give you £5 million and try and get 2 players in for you.
Yeah.
This squad needs heavy investment. And are they prepared to go with his kind of recommendation, if you like? I'm sure he'll have his own thoughts about who he wants in that will fit his system and his philosophy. I'm quite sure the board will as well be looking at, here's a project player that we want to bring in because we could potentially make money down the line off this guy. These are all the things. You've got to take them all into consideration. It's not just one thing that's wrong here at the moment. Yes, tonight the focus is on the manager, but you know, you look at the emotion at the end of the Scottish Cup final at Hampden. You had Callum McGregor in tears because that was the first time he'd been to the National Stadium and had lost a major final, right? How much of that sort of emotion, did you see the same emotion from him after the St Mirren game? No. Because, again, he's like, this isn't on me and this isn't on the players. This is now on the manager. And that's where the dynamic has changed. And I said it earlier, just before we came online, I think we have now a situation where he has totally lost the dressing room. I don't think any kind of thing that he tries to make up, okay, guys, you were right and I was wrong, or this, that, and the next thing. I think we are past that. He is totally disconnected from not even just the senior players, but from the most, the guys who are now being played out of position and saying, you're just asking me to fill a jersey and run about a park, and that's where the whole disconnect, the focus is on the manager for this type of performance and this losing the dressing room.
This has to be on the manager, and I totally agree with you, mate, because it's like we said before, it looks as if the team's been picked out of a raffle. Do you know what I mean? They just pick a name out and go, right, you're going to be a striker, right, you're going to be a midfield, right, you're going to be a defender. And that, for me, is where it's sitting at. He just doesn't have the team. He doesn't understand his players enough to put them into positions that they should be in, basically. And it's laughable, mate. And if it's not working in the first game against Hearts, it's not working in the second game against Roma, it didn't work against St Mirren, change it after that. That 3 games for me, right? You can say you gave him 3 games, you gave him that. You gave him the 3 games, mate, and he's done the same thing, and we get gubbed every single one of them. And he's still doing it, and we're still getting these same results. And you speak about his body language and whatever else after the games. After the Hearts game, mate, his first game in charge, he bolted up that tunnel.
Paddy,
anyone to shut it.
Can I just jump in with something here, right? Because I want to circle back round to the thing that he said, right? Now, I understand that managers are always going to come round and spin a narrative and look for positives and all that kind of garbage, right? But he turns round and he says about the opposition, except for that one offensive transition, they didn't have chances, but they had the ball, right? I'm sorry, but I have to bring this up here, right? The stats will tell you that Motherwell had 11 shots at our goal, 6 of which were on target, to our 8 shots and 3 on target. But they didn't have any chances, Paddy. And 1 offensive chance, that's all they had. I mean, come on, at least be honest with us.
That's because he was watching half of the game from behind his jacket, mate. He's sitting there going, oh no. I mean, the guy hasn't got a clue. That just proves it. He's coming out in these interviews and he's saying that, oh, we had a great second half, or what was it against Livy? The second half, we managed to keep a clean sheet. Aye, well done, mate. We kept a clean sheet in the second half. We conceded 2 in the first 10 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like, get a grip of yourself, man. The guy doesn't have a clue. His interviews are laughable. It's like you said, Steve, we said it before on here. It's back to the days of Doug's chasing caravans with Pedro Caixinha and who was your other man smacking the arse of a ketchup bottle and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
So,
like,
yeah, and I'm abundantly clear that we're going on and on and on. We're going around in circles, right? I just want to put this up to you boys. Start toggers in the house. Love it, mate. Yes. Sorry you had to join us in such sad situation. Right, so it comes back full circle about this. Give them to the end of January. That's based on the idea of bringing in players and implementing it. But simply put, Stevie, and I know it's maybe unfair because it is unfair. Nothing's fair about your situation. Do you trust them? Forget trusting the board. Let's just say the board in this stupid fantasy world, because that's fucking what it is. The board say, whatever you want, big man, right? Whatever you want. And he gets to bring in 3 players, 4 players that are his players for his system. Do you trust that I'm getting those players is going to turn this around? That you get to the end of January? I know it's a hypothetical, but...
Yeah. I think there's probably a yes and a no answer to that, because do I think if we do business, he will bring in players that are better than what we have at the moment, or he'll be able to fit them into their more natural positions? I'll give him a yes on that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not my main concern. My main concern is his formation, and that this message of fluidity and how players, Paddy used the term, he's overcomplicating it. Players are running into spaces that, it used to be.
Can I just stop 1 second? I just want to bring this up. There's been a commenter in here who's been skirting the sort of wall of, are they a Celtic supporter, are they not? James Docherty, I'm sorry, my friend, you're going to have to be banned here. What you're saying there is complete and utter nonsense, right? At no point has anyone in this comment that I've seen on social media, certainly on this platform or any other Celtic podcasting platform, mentioned anything about Wilfried Nancys' ethnicity or has a problem with his ethnicity. Absolute garbage. Celtic, a club open to all, as we say. Absolute garbage. People have a problem with Wilfried Nancys based on his managerial ability. Nothing to do with the colour of the man's skin, the man's background, what country he's from. Away and boil your head. That is just proven that you are indeed not a Celtic supporter and you are actually in here to stir up trouble. So I will politely remove you from the chat. You have a good night in whatever world it is that you live. But that is complete and utter garbage. And again, for complete and utter clarity, no one in these comments, no one sitting on this TV screen has any problem with Wilfried Nancys based on his background. So we're clear on that.
Yeah.
When you're down here, Steve, when you're talking about would we give him 40 million in the transfer window, I wouldn't give this guy another 40 minutes in charge of Celtic, never mind 40 million in the transfer window, mate. And that's kind of where I'm sitting at with it. And I did steal that for somebody off of TikTok. Thanks for that. So, mate, come on. The guy, in my opinion, Tisdale's appointment, I believe. Tisdale's the one who's brought this guy in or whatever, who's identified him as a potential manager, up-and-coming guy. I don't trust him to bring in anything. I know he has to identify players for each position that he wants to play this formation in, but I don't trust him. And I don't trust him because he's come in, he's shown this arrogance, he's shown this side that I don't like. He's shown this, basically, it's my way or the highway, and he's basically ignored absolutely everything that Celtic have done over the last year, 2 years, 3 years. He's come in and he's basically just overruled everything. And for me, mate, that basically puts the nail in his coffin. And for me, I think he has to do the polite thing and just do one.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. So, guys, let's bring it all round. Let's bring it all round. And thank you to Dan's gift of a membership. You're very lucky, whoever it is that gets that out there. So, yeah, let's have if we can, have a prediction session here. What happens tomorrow, Stevie? And I'm not saying you get sacked. I'm talking, what's the reaction? What do you think the ramifications of this are? Because, again, trying to get into the head of Wilfried Nancys, he says again in his post-match interview, the players need a rest. The players need a rest. Some of them need a rest, right? Some of them need a rest, mate. I'm sorry, it is now getting into Wednesday, and on Saturday we have what is ultimately it's a make or break. It's a cup final, if you will. It's the proverbial 6-pointer against the baddies. What happens with in Wilfried Nancys land? What happens at training tomorrow? How does that pan out? And how does the feeling in that dressing room pan out? And how does the narrative pan out between the mainstream media and the fan base? And what does it equate to for Saturday? What does it look like, the atmosphere on Saturday?
To be honest, I don't think there'll be anything. We went a good few weeks earlier in the season where there was club statements every other day, saying that, the board won't bow down to fan pressure. We won't bow down to this, aggression against board members and this, that, and the next thing. And now it's head in the sand time. They've made the appointment. As far as we've been told, the last time we heard anything, they're going to stick by him.
Yep.
I haven't any kind of confidence that they will change their mind in the short term. They won't come out with any more statements. They'll just say, this, it's something that we're back in the manager and we're going to give him time. And what was it? 2 transfer windows.
Yes, that was slightly concerning, wasn't it?
Okay, if you give him January, okay, and they're still not able to win games, then yes, at some point, as I say, you've got to look at that and say it's a failed experiment. These things happen in football. There's no guarantee that anybody will come in and do, straight off the bat, win games of football and, we'll go the rest of the season and we'll trounce all our rivals. Of course, it doesn't happen. But at some point, you've got to turn around and say, we got this one badly wrong. As I say, we did our due diligence. We identified him as a young up-and-coming manager with tremendous ideas on how to play the game of football. Yeah, no problem at all. That's fine. You tried it, but the proof is in the results. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, that's you live or die on that sword.
Yeah. Paddy, I think I'm pushing against an open door here with you. And again, I will just bring it in, and folk don't like me saying, I've seen folks say, stop comparing to Rangers, right? I get it. We are not Rangers. We should be better than them and all that, right?
Yeah.
But what I can't fault is, and again, it comes back to the fact that our board, they're stubborn, they're set in their ways. They are oldie and mouldy and well past their sell-by date as well, in the way that they think. But again, Rangers aren't going to be a basket case forever. At some point, they're just going to get it right. And, then we could be in real trouble. Because let's face it, even if we're talking about, we're even a bit of trouble with Hearts, kind of right. And Hearts have went and signed 3 players, by the way, in January. 3 players already hit the ground running for Hearts. Whereas we're talking about the end of the transfer window, and we'll find it hard to get bodies in because it's such a difficult transfer window and all the usual pish, right? But what I'm getting at here, Paddy, is that the other club in Glasgow, yeah, they get slagged off, but they go, right, we brought in this manager and he was shit, get rid of him. The fans then done what we were doing, protesting against certain board members, and they went, see, they too, they brought in the idiot manager and they signed the idiot players, get them to fucking all. And they done it. They held their hands up and their chairman came out with a big red face and went, we made an arse of that, we're really, really sorry. But we'll learn from it and try. And go, you know what? This new venture, these new guys that get in, might fall flat in their face again, but they'll never be criticised for doing the fucking right thing. That's the problem. Celtic's board are not great at holding their hands up, because I believe that if they hold their hands up and they have to get rid of Wilfried Nancys, then that puts into the firing line Paul Tisdale, probably Nicholson as well. And that is unfortunately why I don't think they'll do it, Paddy.
Yeah, the board won't admit they were wrong by allowing Wilfried Nancys to come in. You speak about across the city, Steve. We had this conversation back when the podcast first started and saying, yeah, Rangers might be shit at the minute, but one day they're going to get a manager in that actually knows what they're doing and can get a tune out of some of these players, and they will be back fighting for titles and stuff. You want to talk about the comparison between both managers, right? Wilfried Nancys, after his first game against Hearts, bolted up that tunnel. Didn't want to take any of the flak, whatever, after a defeat to Hearts. Danny Rowe got defeated off Brandbergen, I think it was, and went straight over to the crowd and stood there and spoke to the fans and told them his vision and told them what he wanted to do with the club. And the fans bought into that. I would buy into that. See if Wilfried Nancys come out after the Hearts game or after the St Mirren game and went, yeah, listen, I got that wrong there. I was totally wrong. That's on me, guys. I got the formation wrong. I underestimated the opposition, whatever, blah, blah. Be honest. Don't come out and give us this pish. Oh, we performed well. I thought that statistically we won the game. I thought that the ball's the ball. I thought that, do you know what I mean? See all this stuff. Stick it in the bin. Get it to fuck. I don't want to hear that. I really don't. I want an honest manager who's going to tell it like it is. Big Ange told it like it was. Do you know what I mean? Brendan Rodgers sometimes told it like it was. He was all about intensity and whatever else and all of this kind of stuff. But a manager who actually comes out there and tells it like it is, and Wilfried Nancys isn't that man. The job is too big for him. It really, really is. And you want to talk about predictions and whatever going into Saturday, mate? I'll give you a prediction right now. And people might not like to hear it, but we are going to get melted. Rangers are 72 on William Hill right now. See if I was a gambler, man.
They will be shortening. They will be shortening those edges. Those odds.
Because every single Celtic fan at the minute, mate, will be straight in on that. Because I cannot see us getting anything past them. They'll put 2 up front against our back 3 and we'll get absolutely tortured, mate.
And do you know what, Paddy? It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to agree with you on that. And I know there'll be some that'll be sitting watching us going, kind of fucking Celtic supporters are you guys? We're Celtic supporters, but we are also realists.
Yeah, the truth is the truth, whether you like it or not. It's still, at the end of the day, the truth. If you say your opinion and Paddy gives his opinion and I give my opinion, if somebody wants to come on and say, okay, I respect your opinion, but I don't agree with it, that's fine. Yeah. But you've got to look at the truth. You can't change the truth to fit your narrative.
Mm-hmm. And can I throw something else at you? And again, guess what I'm going to do? Going to compare us to them, right? I know he's a joke. And it lasted 17 matches and get sacked. But here's something to take away from it. This game has got echoes of that drab draw against Rangers at Ibrox, right? Echoes. And what I mean by that is one manager's getting into it completely under pressure, right? This is Wilfried Nancys' turn. He's now assuming the position of Russell Martin, right? Where if he loses, he probably should, and in the eyes of many, get bulleted the next day. What did Russell Martin do for that drab draw? See his wee plan? He went like that. Because the remit was simple. Do not fucking lose. Because I'm out in my ear if I lose.
Yeah.
He had the foresight to just do something that he's never done. And he got a stupid, shitty draw result that was like all the Christmases at once for them. And I turned and says to my mate, I said to Paddy after it, goes, he'll never do that again. And sure as hell, the next week he went back to his original plan. But the foresight for that one game, not to make an arse of it.
Yeah.
And Wilfried Nancys would do well to adopt that style of thinking for this game, because to lose to Rangers is unforgivable. To get beat badly, as we have by worse teams, would be unforgivable. But for it to happen under your own roof is shambolic, Stevie.
Yeah. Again, tonight's game, if we had played well and lost to Motherwell, then it's a different conversation we're having. Oh, we were unlucky, we had chances, but, we didn't have the striker to put them away, or this, that, the next thing. When we're talking about how badly we are playing out on the pitch, and even playing is maybe not the right word to use, as I say, running about like headless chickens was what we watched tonight. And if you do that against your biggest rivals, and they then take over, you drop a place in the league behind them, it's free fall after that. It's absolute free fall. Yeah. There's no even wee speck of positivity that you're looking at and saying, yeah, okay, talk about January or whatever. No, January's a fairy tale. Points on the board is fact.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I'm pretty sure that an hour and 15 minutes of picking over the carcass of this match.
Therapy.
Yes, it brings us together.
Let's say, right, see if Celtic do get melted on Saturday, right? Say it's 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, whatever, run about that. Mm-hmm. Is that the end? Is that the final nail in the coffin? If he gets beat at Celtic Park by, like you said, a team that was sitting ninth when he come in?
What I will say is, and again, for anybody that's a regular viewer, I'll never flip and flop in my opinions. As I always say, and I used the example of the Champions League last year, where I says, if you were given a situation to start it, you went, I'll bite your hand off for that. That's fine. But as the situation develops and unfolds organically in front of your eyes, you're perfectly entitled to reshift your focus and change your expectations, right? I was of the opinion, too soon for the guy's been dealt a bad hand, give him a couple of games, right? The cup final was the kind of one where I was going, right, okay. I says there's ways to lose a cup final. And the way we lost it was pathetic. I didn't see the green shoots of progress. I didn't see what he was trying to do, as people said. And then I didn't get excited by Aberdeen. I watched you guys talking about it, and I felt that a lot of our games were slices of fortune and taking chances. Now, I know don't take chances, that's what football's all about. But I felt there was still an element in those games where I didn't ever feel like Aberdeen couldn't come back into the game. And equally, I didn't ever feel like Livingston were ever out the game. So I wasn't getting excited by wee bursts of good play and loads of chances, because that can happen, right? But where I'm at with it is it's unfolded and unfolded. I'll say it again. I so want this guy to succeed. I would love this guy. If you could flick my fingers and say, Stevie, don't worry, you'll get a transfer one day and we'll go and we'll win the league, we'll smash it, trust it, you're going to love it. But right, okay, that's fine. I know that's total fantasy stuff, and it's, you never know what's going to come. But basing on what I said about assessing things as they pan out organically, I can't look at the results and I can't look at the performances and see anything getting better. I can't see it suddenly clicking, because that's what it needs to do. It suddenly needs to overnight just click and suddenly start working. It's not even at a stage where it's, as I say, you can see what they're trying to do. It's like you said, Stevie, it's running about headless chickens. It's chaotic. It's unorganised madness. Mm-hmm. And see, when it's that far gone, I can't see it working. If I'm being totally truthfully honest with you, as much as I'd like him to stay on, I'd lose no sleep if he was sacked tonight. That's the reality. But what I will say is for me, if Celtic lose at the weekend, yes, I will 100% say he should be sacked by 4 o'clock on Saturday night if Celtic lose. And again, I'll come back to it for balance and fairness. Shite hand, shite situation, unprecedented, blah, 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 blah. Squad's dross. I get it. But I'll come back to the phrase, damage limitation. Just don't fucking lose. And if you are responsible for allowing a team who were 9th and sacked a manager overtake you in the league inside 8 games, that is sackable. That's sackable if it happens to Brendan Rodgers. It's sackable if it was Martin O'Neill. It's sackable if it was fucking Ange Postecoglou or any other manager. That is sackable for him. And everything that's around you, the circumstances, the shit board that put us all in this position, the shit squad you've got, it is just circumstance. Your job is to find a way to get results. So yes, if Celtic lose at the weekend, it should be curtains. And I hate saying that, but I can't hide for it.
I totally agree. Obviously, I've been one that's been there and I've been saying, calling him out for weeks and weeks and weeks, but this one for me, mate, is massive. If he doesn't, listen, even if he wins on Saturday, I want him sacked. I still don't think he's got what it takes.
Well, sorry, jump in on that, and it's unlikely because it is it's fanciful stuff. If for whatever reason Celtic went and beat Rangers fucking 2-0, 3-1, you might go, all right, buys you a wee bit of credit in the bank. Because let's be honest, it does. Buys you a bit of credit in the bank. Because that's the one of the games that you don't want to lose, that's when you fucking don't want to lose. If you go and you win it with some sort of style, it buys you credit in the bank. But it also puts a plaster over a fucking axe wound.
Yeah. I love that saying, mate. That's that exactly. And that if he does beat Rangers on Saturday, that's exactly what it'll be, mate. A plaster over an axe wound, because let's face it, we are in a very shit state. We're coming into a transfer window where we need to invest at least 40 million, in my opinion, to get this squad up to scratch, to get some players in to play this formation.
Wild to think about that.
And listen, are our board going to give us 40 million? No, they're not. Because let's face it, they know they've shat the bed. They know they've fucked up by the appointment of Wilfried Nancys, so there's not a chance in hell that they're going to give us anything around that kind of region. I think we're going to have between 10 and 15 million, depending on sales as well. Let's face it, Dazamaida looks like he's away, Yang looks like he's away. All of these other guys that were linked and probably had already emptied their lockers and went down south and get told to get back up because we didn't buy replacements. No doubt there'll be a lot more.
I mean, what I will say is, and this is ridiculous, guys, I understand a lot of people 100% get it. Comments are there. Want them gone now. Social media's awash with it. That sounds like a stupid question. I know your answer is, Paddy, but Stevie, could you really sack somebody on a fucking Wednesday before playing Rangers on a Saturday and expect to win it?
Aye.
Yes. That's what we've got to look at. We've got to say, if the longer picture is, do we think this is the guy who is going to move our team forward? No.
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough from him that says he is the man. So if he's got to go, he's got to go. That is the priority. As I say, if the board turned around and said, we tried this experiment, it didn't work for us, he's gone. We'll get somebody else in. You bring somebody in on, Thursday, saying you've got the derby coming up on Saturday. I think, again, even if it was Martin O'Neill there from Plunge, I think Martin would be able to do enough to not lose the game. He would know, let's listen. I'm back in here. Okay, he's had his wee run of 7 games, and you saw what he did with the squad after the Brendan debacle, and guys looked as if they wanted to play for Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody.
May not been great, but they looked like they wanted to play. Yeah.
Yes. As I say, it wasn't fantastic flowing football, but it was points on the board. We keep coming back to this phrase, And so if Martin comes in and Martin says, just don't get beat, we've still got, 17, 18 games to go after Rangers. Nothing's going to be decided on Saturday.
Yeah.
You do not lose to your biggest rivals at home, and then we'll look at the longer term picture. So
absolutely.
Like you say, the manager coming in at that point, I think gives them a chance. 17 games to go. And I think it would have been an easy win for the board to get rid of Nancy. I think if they come in and they go, like, listen, we understand, we've made a mess here. Let's get him out. Let's get Tisdale out even as well. It's an easy win for Nicholson and Mackay. They sit there and they go, look what we've done for you. And that gives them a wee bit of leeway. Takes the fans off their case for a wee bit.
No, it does not. I think
it would, mate. I think people would turn around and go, do you know what? Look what they've done. They've seen it was wrong and they've acted on it. And I think it would take away a wee bit of that.
What I would say is on close on that, is that they are criticised for being dithering and non-decisive. If they were decisive and done something out of character for them, then it still wouldn't take the focus off them, because ultimately once that person had been removed and somebody else had come in, it would circle back around to, well, you fucking employed them anyway, you put us in. So it would come back to them. But momentarily there'd be a wee freeze where you'd have to just go, well, do you know what, fucking fair done. They actually admitted they were wrong. But anyway, guys, listen, we have went nearly an hour and a half. We could go around in circles and circles and circles. I just want to thank everybody. Well over 900 watching us live there just on YouTube. I don't know how many of you have been joining us on X, but thank you very much. And I know it's no nice. It's never nice to have these conversations. I'm sure there was a couple of infiltrators there and they like to have a wee laugh. But do you know what? As I always say, it's a bit like not being able to drive and telling your mate that their car's a shiter, right? Because, Rangers still aren't a good team. Hearts still aren't a fantastic team. So everybody is laughing. Your days will come round, as we all know. It really is a seesaw. It's an up and down sort of season. And it really is. It's going to be like two bald men. It's going to be like Stevie and Paddy fighting over a comb this season, I feel, to get it done. The difference is, and I'll say it a million times, Celtic have the resources, the means to actually fucking make a difference here. They have a massive inbuilt advantage over everybody else. I just hope that we make the right decisions and we don't leave it too late, which is classically what Celtic do. Well, anyway, guys, we've got a result to ponder over for the rest of the week. We've got a couple of press conferences. We've got a couple of radio stations, articles, social media to get ourselves really up for the game on Saturday about. And then, of course, there is the big match, and we'll be back for that to talk about it. Win, lose or draw, we're here, we're always here, and we'll be there to talk about it. So, guys, thanks for staying up so late in such pishy circumstances, and thanks to every single one of the over 900 watching us on here tonight. Things can only get better. Is that a really?
I would like to. I'm impressed with your optimism, Paddy, but no, I think we'll wait until after Saturday before we discuss that one again.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us. As we said before, if you haven't done already before you leave, hit the subscribe button. It costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe to Celtic World Order. Hit that wee thumbs up if you like what we do and get us on our socials down below. So take care of yourselves. It isn't what we wanted. It's an absolute gut punch. As I said earlier on, we feel like a boxer with something of a glass jaw. Tonight we've been hit. We're down on the canvas. We pick ourselves back up. We're still in the title fight. But there's another big matchup at the weekend. And how many blows can this team take before we will be out for the 10 count? Let's hope that's not the case. So anyway, take care of yourselves. God bless. And as always, Paddy boy.
Hail, hail, guys.
See you later. Bye-bye.